All right, so if you only know Thor from the movies, you're really only getting half the picture. We're going to dive into the source material, a comic book journey that's been going on for over 60 years, all about a god who's constantly forced to prove he's worthy. It's this incredible story of arrogance, humility, and, what it actually means to be a hero.
So picture this. It's the early 1960s. Stan Lee at Marvel, he's got a bit of a problem. He's already created the Hulk, right? The strongest one there is. So how do you top that? How do you make someone even stronger? And his solution, which you see right here, it was brilliant. He thought, don't make him human, make him a god. And boom, just like that, that one idea launched one of the biggest icons comics has ever seen.
Okay, so you have the idea, a god as a superhero. But how do you actually make that work? Well, for that, we've got to travel back in time to the Silver Age of comics. This was a wild period where creators were grabbing inspiration from everywhere, especially mythology, to build out this brand new universe.
And here it is, his big debut, August 1962. You've got this dream team, Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and the one and only, the legendary Jack Kirby on art. And what they did was just genius. They took these ancient Norse myths and basically just smashed them right into the modern world. Think about it. This mix of epic, cosmic fantasy and street-level superhero action, nobody was doing anything like it at the time.
But here's the thing. Stan and Jack knew that just being super powerful is, well, it's kind of boring, right? A character needs a flaw. So right from the jump, they gave Thor this huge, very human problem. He was arrogant, like really arrogant. And that simple idea sets up his entire story, which is really just one long, epic lesson in humility.
And this is where the origin story gets so clever. His dad, Odin, sees this arrogance and decides to teach him a lesson. He banishes Thor to Earth, but it's not just a timeout. No, he strips Thor of his memories and sticks him in the body of a mortal doctor, a surgeon named Donald Blake, who is, physically frail. It creates this amazing contrast, this dual identity. You've got the all-powerful god of thunder on one side and this humble human healer on the other, all wrapped up in one person.
Yeah, and I really want to stress this. It wasn't just about punishment. It was a test. The big question was, could Thor learn empathy? Could he learn humility by actually living as a human? And this whole trial introduces the single most important concept in all of Thor's lore, the idea of being worthy. That one word becomes the central theme that hangs over his entire journey for decades.
Okay, so what did this whole dual life thing actually look like on the page? Well, it gave us one of the most iconic weapons in all of fiction, a really unique power set, and some of the best, most dramatic relationships in comics.
I mean, as Thor, the guy was an absolute powerhouse. You're talking superhuman strength, durability, complete control over the weather, lightning, thunder, you name it. But here was the catch. As Donald Blake, he had to strike his walking cane on the ground to trigger this magical transformation. It's such a classic comic booky idea, and it works so well.
And then you have Mjolnir, the hammer. We have to talk about the hammer, because this thing is so much more than just a weapon. It's basically a judge of character. Odin put this enchantment on it, right? Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. That little inscription makes the hammer the ultimate test of Thor's heroism. It's literally his inner struggle made into a physical object.
So with this whole setup, Thor quickly becomes a major player in the Marvel Universe. He's a founding member of the Avengers, fighting alongside Earth's mightiest heroes. But let's be real, his biggest, most personal challenges always came from home. And that's all thanks to the constant backstabbing and scheming of his adoptive brother and #1 nemesis, Loki, the god of mischief.
But think about it. What makes a character stick around for over 60 years? It's not just about punching bad guys. It's about constant reinvention. And for Thor, the absolute best, most compelling stories are always the ones that dig deep and challenge his identity by asking that one terrifying question. What happens when the God of Thunder is no longer worthy?
And that question, that whole worthiness thing, has been the engine for his evolution. I mean, back in the 80s, the legendary Walt Simonson just blew everyone's minds when this alien dude, Beta Ray Bill, shows up and he can lift the hammer. Then fast forward to 2014 and they flip the script completely. Thor himself becomes unworthy and Jane Foster picks up the hammer and becomes the new Thor. And look, these weren't just cheap stunts to sell comics. They were genuinely brilliant ways to explore what heroism even means. It's a journey that eventually leads him to become king of Asgard, a whole new kind of responsibility.
So all of this incredibly rich, complex comic book history, it's the foundation for the global superstar we know today. But as you can imagine, when Thor made that huge leap from the comic book page to the movie screen, a few things had to be tweaked to create the version that most people are familiar with.
Okay, so let's break down the big changes for the movies. For starters, the whole Donald Blake's secret identity thing, gone. Just dropped completely to keep things simple. And the gods, well, to make them fit into the more sci-fi vibe of the MCU, they became this advanced alien race instead of actual magical deities. And the tone shifted too. The comics often have this epic, almost Shakespearean feel, while the movies, they leaned way more into action comedy and really focused on that amazing, complicated, brotherly dynamic between Thor and Loki. Just think about that number, 60+ years. For more than 6 decades, this character has been the star of his own books, fighting frost giants, flying through space, and constantly questioning his own place in the universe. It's just a massive testament to the power of that original, simple idea, a flawed god learning how to be a true hero.
And that really brings us full circle, right back to that fundamental question that was there from the very beginning. After all the battles, all the deaths and rebirths, and all the different people who have held that hammer, Thor's story is still, at its heart, about exploring that one powerful idea. It's a question the comics are still asking, which just goes to show you, the journey to being worthy, that's a story that never ever ends.